was on Wednesday morning, out on a lonely isle in the beauty of the dawning. As John was in exile, he heard a voice resounding across the rolling sea, like mighty billows abounding. John fell down on his knees. These are they from every nation who have worn their garments white, coming up from great tribulation to a land of pure delight, coming up from every nation on the way to the crowning program, coming up through great tribulation to a land of pure delight. He saw the tribes of Israel coming up before the throne of the story grand to tell of the burdens they had borne. He saw another marching crowd of the number none had known, shouting loud and long as they marched around the throne. These are they from every nation who have worn their garments white, coming up through great tribulation to a land of pure delight, coming up from every nation on the way to the crowning program, coming up through great tribulation to a land of pure delight. It was on Wednesday morning, out on a lonely isle in the beauty of the dawning. As John was in exile, he heard a voice resounding across the rolling sea, like mighty billows abounding. John fell down on his knees. These are they from every nation who have worn their garments white, coming up through great tribulation to a land of pure delight, coming up from every nation on the way to the crowning program, coming up through great tribulation to a land of pure delight. These are they from every nation who have worn their garments white, coming up through great tribulation to a land of pure delight.
The oracles of the UCI, 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober, and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man has received the gift, even so minister the same one to another as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim gives, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yahshua the Mashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 29 through chapter 5 and verse 4. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby you're sealed until the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim for Yahshua's sake has forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim, as their children, and walk in love, as the Mashiach also have loved us, and has given himself for us an offering and sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as becomes saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather given of thanks. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Keep your foot when you go to the house of Elohim, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. Be not rash with your mouth, and let not your heart be hasty to utter anything before Elohim. For Elohim is in heaven, and you up on earth. Therefore, let your words be few. Exodus chapter 23, verses 20 and 21. Behold, I send an angel before you to keep you in the way, and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. Revelations chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcomes will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I have also overcame, and am sat down with my Father in his throne. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the churches.
All right, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Which is peace on Yahweh's holy Sabbath day. Welcome to another holy convocation that Yahweh has enjoined unto us here in Stone Mountain, Georgia. When we consider the times of the children of Israel coming out of Egypt, there was a situation of them being separate from all of the people of Egypt. And that separation, they were given instructions about marking over their door with the blood of the lamb, and it separated them from the children of Egypt when the destroyer came through. Now, it's not like an angel needs to clarify what group of people is there. What it is was dealing with a show of obedience. That separation is just not a separation about what they look like. This is a separation of obedience because there could be some children of Israel who chose that they were not going to mark over their door with the blood of the lamb. It could have been some Hebrews that decided they were not going to stay inside as the instruction was given. So that instruction was not just about knowing the color of the ethnicity of the people. It was way deeper than that. It was about who was going to be obedient unto the instruction that was given. But that thing there was a situation of the separation from the children of Egypt, and then the sanctification of being sanctified for a purpose that Yahweh had designed. And that's basically what Yahweh's law is. His law is something that separates us from everybody else. So from the beginning, Yahweh said, I have severed you from among all other people. What we do our most power to do is to try to fit in with the rest of everybody else. And Yahweh purposely made us different than everybody else. He gave us a law that was different from everything else. And we try to lessen that so that we can blend in with the rest of the world. So in other words, we're gonna water down Yahweh's law from the beginning. This is our push. And it is definitely causing us some issues, and those issues are about to multiply greatly, because as judgment gets placed on the daughter of Babylon, and the adversary, the devil, focuses on the children of Israel, he's going to focus on those parts of the law that we have indignation with. Consider what happened when they wanted to find an issue with Daniel. They said, Daniel's a straight up guy. He's fair, he's honest, he's all of that. If we're gonna find a problem with Daniel, the only way we're gonna do it is with the law of his Elohim. So let's go and find something in the law of his God, and then implement something opposite of that. That's the only way we're gonna find a problem with Daniel. That's something when even the evil individuals say that they can't find an issue with you unless it's an issue with his law. And if you just really consider it, there's a whole lot of schisms, and when you get down to the bottom of it, it's how somebody feels about Yahweh's law. We end up doing the same thing as what happened to Daniel. Let's begin today's sermon in Leviticus chapter 11. And today's sermon is entitled Separation unto Sanctification. And there are trivia questions for today's sermon. So if you guys did not get an email, send your request to the uci.org at gmail.com. Leviticus chapter 11, and we're going to start that at verse 1.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe and to Aaron, saying unto them, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, These are the beasts which you shall eat among all the beasts that are on the earth.
Now consider, you have a group of people that are coming out of Egypt, and Egypt dealt with things differently. So now Yahweh has to give the children of Israel instructions on how to abide in his land. And we're creatures of habit, so this is a problem. Go ahead.
Whatsoever parts the hoof, and is cloven-footed, and chews the cud among the beasts, that shall you eat.
Okay, so there's certain things we have to then keep in our brain. Whatsoever parts the hoof, is cloven-footed, and chews the cud. If it does 2 out of 3, it ain't good enough. If it does 1 out of 3, it ain't good enough. These are the things that separate what animals can be eaten. So the problem is, when you go to your little feng shui restaurant, the picture of the animal ain't gonna be there, and they're gonna give it a different name. They're not gonna call it what you call it. All right. So now you got to pull out that pocket computer that you use for everything else and say calamari. Okay, what the hell is that? Mm-hmm. Now it's time to research that and see. Let me see what it look like. Does it fit the description of what can be eaten? Go ahead.
Nevertheless, these shall you not eat of them that chew the cud, or of them that divide the hoof, as the camel, because he chews the cud, but divides not the hoof, he is unclean unto you.
Right, so he has 2 out of 3. It's not good enough. Go ahead.
And the coney, because he chews the cud, but divides not the hoof, he is unclean unto you.
So now, if you consider how the Sunday morning doctrine told us that, basically they made refrigerators and now food is clean, you see how the refrigerator don't have anything to do with how the food made and what it eat? Now, how we bought that lie was because we didn't go in and read the law. That's why we let somebody tell us what they think, feel, and believe according to that. That the food was re-cleansed. No, hold on. There are instructions on how it's made. Refrigerator ain't got nothing to do with that. Go ahead.
And the hare, because he chews the cud, but divides not the hoof, he is unclean unto you. And the swine, though he divide the hoof, and be cloven-footed, yet he chews not the cud, he is unclean to you. Of their flesh shall you not eat, and their carcass shall you not touch, they are unclean to you.
Right, and you're going to find that several times
where it becomes unclean unto you. Go ahead.
These shall you eat of all that are in the waters. Whatsoever has fins and scales in the waters, in the seas and in the rivers, them shall you eat.
All right. So you get some fancy name, something. You got to then look this thing up and figure out if it has fins and scales. We got to look this up to figure out, does it fit this? So trying to figure out what somebody calls something, you have to consider things may be different in different countries and different lands. What one group calls one thing, another group calls that something else. So are you associating what's clean and unclean based on, oh yeah, I know that name. Come to figure out in another country, that's something else. You got to go back to the basics. Does that thing have fins and scales? If it does, I can eat it. Don't get caught up on the name. Go ahead.
You know, brother, one of the biggest things with that is tuna. You just got tuna. So you go in the store, they sell tuna.
Yep.
Hey, there's clean tuna and there's unclean tuna. So you better be asking what type of tuna, which 9 times out of 10 they don't know. It's tuna.
No, they don't. They don't. They'll just repeat the same word twice. So what kind of tuna is it? Tuna. For real? So you just going to repeat the same word again? Go ahead, bro.
Verse 10. And all that have not fins and scales in the seas and in the rivers, of all that move in the waters, and of any living thing which is in the waters, they shall be an abomination unto you. They shall be even an abomination unto you. You shall not eat of their flesh, but you shall have their carcass in abomination.
Now, this is the part you're going to keep coming past, but you shall have their carcass in abomination. You have to think, even though you have all of these situations of unclean animals, the part where you come into judgment is in the carcass. Why? Because you got to kill it before you eat it. I mean, a dog is unclean. But how many people fall into judgment because they went to go walk the dog? Your problem is when you try to eat the dog. Because you got, once it's dead, now you're handling the carcass. The carcass is the dead body. So you have a whole lot of situations where people's like, this is unclean, that is unclean. Yes, you use the unclean animal for its purpose. When you start trying to kill the unclean animal to eat it, you already in sin before you put the animal in your mouth. You were sinning when you start preparing the unclean animal. They use pigs to clean off a field. Pigs eat anything. They still not unclean. That animal ain't dead yet. You ride a horse. We don't eat the horse, but we rode the horse. Is the brother now unclean? We use all kind of unclean animals. If Yahshua rode on the foal of an ass, right? Can you eat that? Okay, he rode on an unclean animal, but he didn't try to eat it. Go ahead, bro.
Whatsoever has no fins nor scales in the waters, that shall be an abomination unto you. And these are they which you shall have in abomination among the fowls. They shall not be eaten. They are an abomination. The eagle, and the ostrich, and the osprey, and the vulture, and the kite after his kind. Every raven after his kind.
Now, this is a prime example of getting the name, because in verse 14, it says in the vulture. Now, you'll have a situation where they call the turkey vulture. So people say that, the turkey is unclean because they then put it with the vulture. And people give names to things based on what it looks like. So people say, the turkey is in the vulture family. Well, my immediate answer, is the catfish in the cat or the fish family? Which family is the catfish in? Cats don't even like water. It looked like a cat, so they called it a catfish. Don't get stuck on the name. What happens? Does it have fins? No. You can't eat it. I don't care what they call the thing. It may be called something else in another country. Let me see it. We can cut out all the talk. Let me see it. That what it look like? No, I can't eat that. Go ahead.
Every raven after his kind, and the owl, and the nighthawk, and the cuckoo, and the hawk after his kind, and the little owl, and the cormorant, and the great owl, and the swan, and the pelican, and the gyre eagle, and the stork, the heron after her kind, and the lapwing, and the bat. All fowls that creep, going upon all four, shall be an abomination unto you. Yet these may you eat of every flying, creeping thing that goes upon all four, which have legs above their feet, to leap withal upon the earth.
Now, I have to be honest with you. I have not tried to figure out exactly which creeping things can be eaten. Why? Because I ain't got hungry enough yet. Now, after when we get to day 3 without eating, we're going to examine these bugs deeper than you've ever examined a bug in your life. We will be counting legs. We will be doing all kind of things. Right now, you eating. So you ain't paying attention to what creeping things are edible. But I'm telling you, around day 3, some of these bugs, they looking delicious on this paper. I ain't even got near one yet. But I'm telling you, this stuff right here seems like it don't matter to you. That's because you're eating. That's because you can jump down and go to Walmart and grab something. When all that's gone, you're going to wish you had figured out, okay, which one of these bugs we can eat. Go ahead.
Even these of them you may eat, the locust after his kind, and the bald locust after his kind, and the beetle after his kind, and the grasshopper after his kind.
We like, look, I know what that look like. All right, it ain't but one thing. Yeah, you find, some folk out in the backyard. What y'all doing? Trying to find grasshoppers. Okay. Go ahead.
But all other flying creeping things which have 4 feet shall be an abomination unto you. And for these you shall be unclean. Whosoever touches the carcass of them shall be unclean until the even.
You see, once again, it's everywhere. The carcass. Go ahead.
And whosoever bears aught of the carcass of them shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the even. The carcasses of every beast which divide the hoof and is not cloven-footed, nor chews the cud, are unclean unto you. Every one that touches them shall be unclean. And whatsoever goes upon his paws among all manner of beasts that go on all 4, those are unclean unto you. Whoso touches their carcass shall be unclean until the even. And he that beareth the carcass of them shall wash his clothes, and be unclean until the even. They are unclean unto you. These also shall be unclean unto you among the creeping things that creep upon the earth, the weasel, and the mouse, and the tortoise after his kind, and the ferret, and the chameleon, and the lizard, and the snail, and the mole. These are unclean to you among all that creep. Whosoever does touch them, when they be dead, shall be unclean until the even.
Now, it's funny because he goes and mentions carcass about 30 times. But then, Israel, we funny. So then he just go right in. Look, when they be dead, just in case you didn't understand what carcass meant, he just changed the whole thing. Look, when they be dead, if you touch them, you got a problem. You're unclean. Real simple. But if we don't understand this, what happens is the adversary of the devil will play with you on both sides of Yahweh's law. He will make you feel dirty with something that's clean and make you feel clean with something that's dirty. Oh, he plays on both sides of the law. So if you got a problem on any side of the law, Lucifer gonna toy with you. Go ahead.
And upon whatsoever any of them, when they are dead, does fall, it shall be unclean, whether it be in any vessel of wood, or raiment, or skin, or sack, whatsoever vessel it be, wherein any work is done, it must be put into water, and it shall be unclean until the even, so it shall be cleansed. And every earthen vessel, wherein to any of them falls, whatsoever is in it shall be unclean, and you shall break it. Of all meat which may be eaten, that on which such water comes shall be unclean, and all drink that may be drunk in every such vessel shall be unclean.
Now, we look at some of these things. We have to come outside of what we use today and consider if it's something like pottery and things like that, that some of that stuff is going into the actual vessel of what you put it in. So then they're like, at that point, no, you got to break that. That stuff is still in there. See, we don't got used to plastic, which still holds stuff as well. We just don't see it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think they call it porous.
Yeah.
Verse 35.
See, that's what happened when you raised on the other side of the island. You hear that? Porous. Look at that. Woo! Boy, you making mama proud today. Go ahead, bro.
Verse 35. And everything whereupon any part of those carcass falls shall be unclean. Whether it be oven or ranges for pots, they shall be broken down, for they are unclean, and shall be unclean unto you. Nevertheless, a fountain or pit, wherein there is plenty of water, shall be clean, but that which touches their carcass shall be unclean. And if any part of their carcass fall upon any sowing seed which is to be sown, it shall be unclean. But if any water be put upon the seed, and it shall be clean, verse 37. And if any part of their carcass shall be upon any sowing seed which is to be sown, it shall be clean. But if any water be put upon the seed, and any part of their carcass fall thereon, it shall be unclean unto you.
There's certain parts that you get to in Yahweh's law that will just utterly confuse you. And you really just have to sit there and pray, like, why was this part like this? There's certain parts that I can't even tell you that I understand right away. And there's some things that you just have to pray to Yahweh about and meditate on it. Because there's going to be some other things that you come across in this law, and you just kind of got to look up for a minute and say, well, why is that one different? And we're gonna get the one that really stumped my potato. Go ahead, bro.
Actually, I'm reading it again, and I can see where if the carcass is on the top and the seed is on below, then it's not really touching the seed that's being sown.
Mm-hmm.
But then the water, if it runs off the carcass, is actually going down now to the sown seed that's underneath the dirt.
Sound like a man that might have planted something before.
No.
Yeah, that's all right, bro. That's all right. Good, bro.
And if any beast of which you may eat die, he that touches the carcass thereof shall be unclean until the even. And he that eats of the carcass of it shall wash his clothes, and be unclean until the even. He also that bears the carcass of it shall wash his clothes, and be unclean until the even. And every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth shall be an abomination. It shall not be eaten. Whatsoever goes upon the belly, and whatsoever goes upon all four, or whatsoever has more feet among all creeping things that creep upon the earth, them you shall not eat, for they are an abomination.
Right. And you have, we love to go to other countries and other lands. And let me tell you something. They eat all manner of stuff in those places. And then they give us fancy little names for those things. So, you're not going to get a straight answer when you ask what some of this stuff is. Anytime the answer say it tasted like a chicken, that's probably not a good thing. That's probably not an answer that you should accept. What do you mean it tasted like a chicken? Is it chicken or not? Well, it tasted like a chicken. Nah, a lot of things tasted like a chicken. Okay? That don't mean it's a chicken. Okay? So, you pay attention. The further we go abroad, the more we need to go back to the base rules. Forget names. Understand scales and fins and what it eat. If it parts the hoof, chews the cud, we need all of that information, and then try to see if you can get a picture of that, because the names change from one place to another. Go ahead.
A lot of times we're looking at the physical flesh that's being served to us,
Uh-huh.
and trying to figure that out.
Yep.
But what about the sauces that's being used? Because the Asian people like to use something called oyster sauce. So a lot of them things we thinking, oh, it's just soy sauce. No, oyster sauce is dark as well. Oyster is an abomination. So you might have chicken, which is clean, but now the sauce on there just made your whole meal unclean.
It's clean food, but it was soaked in abomination. It's just got abominable sauce. Turn it to the side.
Go ahead, bro.
You know, even with that, my brother, I was thinking about this earlier in the week. You know, we like to go out to restaurants and eat. I'm getting more and more away from that stuff. We're not even thinking about what they putting on our food calling gravy.
Yeah.
Does it still contain the blood?
Yeah. 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 My family had to make me go out in certain situations, especially if stuff I don't really understand like that, you know. But go ahead, bro.
Verse 43. You shall not make yourselves abominable with any creeping thing that creeps, neither shall you make yourselves unclean with them, that you should be defiled thereby. For I am Yahweh your El. You shall therefore sanctify yourselves, and you shall be holy.
You shall therefore sanctify yourselves. So there's a certain amount of separation from regular things that the world accepts that the children of Israel are supposed to not accept. Go ahead.
For I am holy. Neither shall you defile yourselves with any manner of creeping thing that creeps upon the earth. For I am Yahweh that brings you up out of the land of Egypt to be your El. You shall therefore be holy, for I am holy. This is the law of the beast, and of the fowl, and of every living creature that moves in the waters, and of every creature that creeps upon the earth. To make a difference between the unclean and the clean, and between the beast that may be eaten and the beast that may not be eaten.
Right. So even though Yahweh has made all things, he has also made all things for specific purposes. And in a whole situation, in a thing of understanding what holiness is, there has to be a difference made between the clean and the unclean. There's a separation there. Let's go to chapter 17 and let's read verses 10 through 16. Leviticus chapter 17 and verses 10 through 16.
And whatsoever man there be of the house of Israel, or of the strangers that sojourn among you, that eats any manner of blood, I will even set my face against that soul that eats blood, and will cut him off from among his people.
Right. Now, nobody is going to invite you to a place and, hey, you want to come and eat some blood? Do understand that that's not how that question's going to come. You're going to be in the buffet line and they're going to ask you how you want your steak. And if you know, all you got to do is just stand by the buffet line and you see, you're going to hear mostly people of color are going to say, well done. Everybody else is going to say medium rare. Stand by the buffet line and just watch. Medium rare still has blood in it. And if you by there where they're cooking the steak, they then get upset with you that you want yours well done. Hey man, you a cook, bruh. This is what you do. Cook the meat, okay? Don't try to figure out my life purpose because I want this thing well done. Just do what I ask you to do. Sometimes you're gonna have to get in an argument to get things done right. I've had to send a steak back more than once. Hey man, that ain't finished. I'm looking at him, and he handed it to me. No. Do that again. Hey man, I don't care nothing about you getting upset with me. This your job, man. Cook the steak, man. Cause see, if you don't do that, then they try to make you feel like, oh, well, you know, you're holding up the line. I don't give a damn about this line behind me. Cook my steak. You think I'm gonna violate my Elohim so I can be nice to these people standing behind me? See, then they put you on Front Street and make it be your fault that the line is building up. Ain't my fault all them want their meat half cooked. Of course the line can move fast if you're going to half cook everything. But that line going to move how it's supposed to move when it get to me. Because you're going to cook that all the way. Go ahead, bro.
Hey, but the first question was, how do you want it?
Right.
You should have did it right the first time.
But
I
you know
told
what?
How I wanted it.
That lets you know that the question wasn't really, it was a rhetorical question. They ask you how you want it, and then when you say, well done, they get upset with you. Oh, what you asked me for? That's like asking me, you want some chicken? Yeah, ain't no more. What the hell you asked me for? Go ahead, bro.
Verse 11. For the life of the flesh is in the blood, and I have given it to you upon the altar to make an atonement for your souls.
Uh-huh.
For it is the blood that makes an atonement for the soul.
Okay, so come out of everybody else's feelings about what the blood is and the purpose of the blood. This takes care of that business. Because you got some cultures that are straight dealing in blood. You'll see all kind of things. Cut out the culture thing right here. Blood is given for the atonement of sins. You can't eat that. The life of the animal is in the blood. Go ahead.
Therefore I said unto the children of Israel, no soul of you shall eat blood, neither shall any stranger that sojourns among you eat blood.
Right. So people can't come in your house and say,
Well, you know, I'm not a Hebrew like you, so I just put some ice in the cup and just put the blood right in there. This ice blood.
you ain't ice blood, get the hell out of here. You can believe that. See, the law among the house follows everybody that come in the house. I don't care what culture you is. If you come in this house, these are the rules of this house. If that bothers you, stop now. Turn around. Go back. We can take care of this real quick. Go ahead.
And whatsoever man there be of the children of Israel, or of the strangers that sojourn among you, which hunts and catches any beast or fowl that may be eaten, he shall even pour out the blood thereof, and cover it with dust. For it is the life of all flesh, the blood of it is for the life thereof. Therefore I said unto the children of Israel, you shall eat the blood of no manner of flesh. For the life of all flesh is the blood thereof. Whosoever eats it shall be cut off.
Right. And the way they make most of their medicines now is toying and playing with blood. They making their little vaccines asking for other people's blood. So you getting somebody else's blood right in you. Go ahead.
And every soul that eats that which died of itself, or that which was torn with beasts, whether it be one of your own country or a stranger, he shall both wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even, then shall he be clean. But if he wash them not, nor bathe his flesh, then he shall bear his lawlessness.
All right, let's go to our Leviticus chapter 20. Leviticus chapter 20, and we're going to start that at verse 1.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Again, you shall say to the children of Israel, whosoever he be of the children of Israel, or of the strangers that sojourn in Israel, that gives any of his seed unto Molech, he shall surely be put to death. The people of the land shall stone him with stones.
Now, you have this was one of those things where they got into this child sacrifice. So what Israel would do is follow partly with Yahweh and then follow partly with the other gods of the land. And then it became Israel's responsibility. You know, again, you shall say to the children of Israel, whosoever he be of the children of Israel, or of the strangers that sojourn in Israel. If they in your land, they have to follow the law of your land. They don't get to come and say this is their culture so they can do abominable practices. You can't do them here. Go ahead.
And I'll set my face against that man, and will cut him off from among his people, because he has given of his seed unto Molech, to defile my sanctuary and to profane my holy name.
Consider that. There are things that they have done outside of Yahweh's place of worship. But Yahweh still said, you defile my sanctuary and my holy name. They didn't do offer up their seed to Molech nowhere near Yahweh's sanctuary. See, there's certain things that we do and they follow us. They jump right on your tail and you carry them right in. They didn't offer up their seed in Yahweh's house. Ain't none of us playing none of that. But he said, you defile my holy name and my sanctuary. Go ahead.
And if the people of the land do anyways hide their eyes from the man, when he gives up his seed unto Molech, and kill him not.
See, now the responsibility is falling on Israel. Oh, you hide your eyes, you act like you ain't know that man had a kid, and all of a sudden the kid gone. Hey, bro, where your kid at? Huh? What you mean, huh, bro? It was a little dude. All right, little dude. There was a little dude here. Where's the little dude? All right? We see you, we don't see little dude no more. Where little dude at? Go ahead.
Then I'll set my face against that man and against his family, and will cut him off, and all that go a-whoring after him to commit whoredom with Molech from among their people. And the soul that turns after such as have familiar spirits, and after wizards to go a-whoring after them, I'll even set my face against that soul, and will cut him off from among his people. Sanctify yourselves, therefore, and be you holy, for I am Yahweh your El.
So then you find out that this separation is sanctification. And separating yourself from the so-called normal things of the land is where your sanctification comes in. Go ahead.
And you shall keep my statutes and do them. I am Yahweh, which sanctifies you. For everyone that curses his father or his mother shall be surely put to death. He has cursed his father or his mother, his blood shall be upon him. And the man that commits adultery with another man's wife, even he that commits adultery with his neighbor's wife, the adulterer and the adulteress shall surely be put to death.
Now, this is something that we know to be true. This is a normal thing. All right. The adulterer and the adulteress shall be put to death. Keep reading.
And the man that lies with his father's wife has uncovered his father's nakedness. Both of them shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them. Right.
So then when you go and read Genesis and it starts talking about one of the sons discovered the nakedness of his father, do understand that meant the father and whatever woman he was in covenant with. That wasn't just the father, because you'll read that and say, okay, so what was it, Noah? He was drunk, and then you saw his father's nakedness, and like, so I mean, you saw his dad naked. I mean, he might have been grossed out, but what that mean? Now that also include his wife. His wife is his nakedness. And when people think like that, you have to consider some things like, what are you allowing to happen? Are you displaying your nakedness? Because we see, we let, and hey, we all, before we was in the word, come on. You know what a dog do? You put your woman in a cat suit and just let her walk in front of you and let everybody look at her. Yeah. Nah, bro, you can't do that no more. You can't do it no more. You can't do it no more, bro. Can't do it no more. I know. And every brother's part in this walk, you got to go and find all them damn cat suits and get them out, because you probably bought them. You know what I'm saying? You bought the damn cat suits. I know I bought them. Okay? You got to get them cat suits out of there. All right? Because that's your nakedness. See, you look at that like no. That's your nakedness. That nakedness belongs to you. So when Yahweh come to you and say, hey man, why you naked? I ain't naked.
Oh, I'm sorry. Baby, come here.
Right. Go ahead.
And if a man lie with his daughter-in-law, both of them shall surely be put to death. They have wrought confusion. Their blood shall be upon them. If a man also lie with mankind as he lies with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination. They shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them. And if a man take a wife and her mother, it is wickedness. They shall be burnt with fire, both he and they, that there be no wickedness among you.
Now see, this is the part where Yahweh's law take a turn. And you like, okay, put to death. Then he starts talking about, oh no, when they do this, they should be set on fire. What? And whose job is to set a fire to the individuals? I don't think I want that job. Whatever that, I don't want that job. It's hard enough trying to heat up the grill. I am not trying to be the dude that's got to burn these two individuals here. There are certain things that just come out of nowhere. Like, okay, you put him to death. Nah, but that means he really don't like this right here. Okay? He really don't like this. You got a question on your face. Your face show you got a question. What's up?
Nah, I was wondering, remember when Judah, when he tried to kill Tamar?
Uh-huh.
And then he also said he wanted to burn her.
He was going to burn her.
Yeah. That what he kind of get that from?
Well, I don't know where he was getting it from. Because he was on some different kind of stuff himself. But it was interesting that was his judgment against her in burning her, because in essence he should have been part of the fire. It's very interesting, because so part of his judgment that Judah was trying to put on Tamar should have very well been on him had he known what the deal was. But in that instance, okay, what does it say? Both. So when you set that fire for her, make sure you jump in it. That's when you get,
You know what? Never mind.
right. See, we don't want to set that fire on both sides. We just want to set that fire on one side of the fence. See, we want to burn up our enemies, but none of our friends. Don't burn them up. No, when you set that fire over here, you got to set that fire over there too. Go ahead, bro.
And it's like you've mentioned also, when you look at this, there shouldn't be no Reubenites, because Reuben should be dead.
Reuben has been causing trouble even further down in this class. You're going to find some Reubenites. Go ahead, bro.
And if a man lie with a beast, he shall surely be put to death, and you shall slay the beast.
You shall slay the beast. Now the beast should, now Yahweh even put the pressure on the beast. The beast, so Yahweh like, you should have kicked him. I gave you them hooves for a reason. Kick that fool. Now the beast getting put to death. Go ahead.
And if a woman approach unto any beast and lie down thereto, you shall kill the woman and the beast. They shall surely be put to death, their blood shall be upon them. And if a man shall take his sister, his father's daughter, or his mother's daughter, and see her nakedness, and she see his nakedness, it is a wicked thing, and they shall be cut off in the sight of their people. He has uncovered his sister's nakedness, he shall bear his lawlessness. And if a man shall lie with a woman having her sickness, and shall uncover her nakedness, he has discovered her fountain, and she has uncovered the fountain of her blood, and both of them shall be cut off from among their people. And you shall not uncover the nakedness of your mother's sister, nor of your father's sister, for he uncovers his near kin, they shall bear their lawlessness. And if a man shall lie with his uncle's wife, he has uncovered his uncle's nakedness. They shall bear their sin, they shall die childless.
Now, this is another one of them questions. After you've seen all the death, right? The uncle part throws you off. And if a man shall lie with his uncle's wife, he has uncovered his uncle's nakedness. Automatically, I'm ready to say, and they both should die. And then I look at, they shall bear their sin, they shall be childless. What? I can't answer that part. You know what I'm saying? I'm just going to pray that Yahweh show me something right there. I was automatically ready to hear, especially after you done heard 10 times straight, they shall die. I was already ready to hear that. Then it says, they shall be childless. So now I'm thinking, that's all? But you don't know how he going to do that. Is it, what happened if they already got kids? Did he then turn around and put all the death on them? I don't know. Just reading what it says. Go ahead.
And if a man shall take his brother's wife, it is an unclean thing. He has uncovered his brother's nakedness. They shall be childless. He shall therefore keep all my statutes and all, verse 22, you shall therefore keep all my statutes and all my judgments and do them, that the land, whether I bring you to dwell therein, spew you not out. And you shall not walk in the manners of the nation, which I cast out before you, for they committed all these things, and therefore I abhorred them. But I have said unto you, you shall inherit their land, and I'll give it unto you to possess it, a land that flows with milk and honey. I am Yahweh your El, which has separated you from other people. You shall therefore put difference between clean beasts and unclean, and between unclean fowls and clean. And you shall not make your souls abominable by beast, or by fowl, or by any manner of living thing that creeps on the ground, which I have separated from you as unclean. And you shall be holy unto me, for I Yahweh am holy, and have severed you from other people, that you should be mine.
And you shall be holy unto me, for I Yahweh am holy, and have severed you from other people, that you should be mine. And we always trying to get back with other people. We always trying to go and mingle with the masses, the very ones that Yahweh has separated you from, to cause some sanctification. We run right back to it. As it is written, like the sow that was washed to her wallowing in the mire. You wash off the pig and it can't wait to go and get right back in a mud hole. Go ahead.
A man also or woman that has a familiar spirit, or that is a wizard, shall surely be put to death. They shall stone them with stones, their blood shall be upon them.
All right, let's go to Acts chapter 10. Acts chapter 10, and let's read verses 9 through verse 35.
Verse 9. On the morrow, as they went on their journey and drew near unto the city, Cephas went up upon the housetop to pray about the 6th hour. And he became very hungry, and would have eaten. But while they made ready, he fell into a trance, and saw heaven opened, and a certain vessel descending onto him, as it had been a great sheet knit at the 4 corners, and let down to the earth, wherein were all manner of 4-footed beasts of the earth, and wild beasts, and creeping things, and fowls of the air. And there came a voice to him, Rise, Cephas, kill and eat. But Cephas said, No, not so, Adonai, for I have never eaten anything that is common or unclean.
Right off the rip, the thing that is in his head, this vision, violates the law that is in his heart. Not so. Yeah, I understand I'm seeing a vision, but this vision it ain't gonna work. We can't eat that stuff. So automatically there is a disagreement in his spirit. This is why Yahshua says, my sheep hear my voice. So for those of us who have heard the word and received it, when something strange comes, it should feel different in our spirit. When somebody starts suggesting some things and you're like, no, that don't fit right here. Automatically, and we get it from people, and we know how people are. If you will fall because a person came and gave you some story, if you saw a vision, half of us would already had a pork chop in our mouth before this vision was even finished.
See, I got a vision from God, Duck. He said that all this stuff is cleansed. He said, eat. I said, yes, master. Smothered and covered.
Go ahead.
And the voice spake unto him again the 2nd time, What Elohim has cleansed, that call not you common.
Right. Now, how many of us saying, well, okay, well, let me go get the A1 sauce. He's still battling here. Go ahead.
This was done 3 times.
3 times. Go ahead.
And the vessel was received up again into heaven. Now while Cephas doubted in himself what this vision which he had seen should mean, behold, the men which were sent from Cornelius had made inquiry for Simeon's house, and stood before the gate.
So he's meditating on this. He hasn't taken off making some movements. He's meditating on the things. He stood on the law when it came to him, and now he's meditating because now some things were said to him. Go ahead.
You see, that's the thing with us. People have asked us things, and you're afraid to say, hey, let me think about that.
Right.
Because you worry about how they going to get upset. Hey, man, I don't give a if you want to get upset. I need to think about it.
Right. I need to meditate on this. Now, he has seen a vision, heard a voice, and still meditating. Half of the people are already down the street. Go ahead.
And called and asked whether Simeon, which was surnamed Peter, were lodged there. While Cephas thought on the vision, the Spirit said unto him, Behold, 3 men seek you. Arise therefore, and get you down, and go with them, doubting nothing, for I have sent them. Then Cephas went down.
Now, whoa. Verse 19. While Cephas thought on the vision, the Spirit said unto him, Behold, 3 men seek you. Arise therefore, get you down, and go with them, doubting nothing, for I have sent them. Okay, was you the same one that gave me the vision to eat all the unclean stuff? You see how quick doubt can go? And it says, doubting nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, why? Because I doubt what you just showed me. You just showed me a holy pork chop. Okay? Me and you, we got problems. I'm not seeing you eye to eye right now. You just gave me something that wasn't quite right. Go ahead.
You know, when you go back to verse 17, the Spirit just used what they know was doing. It says, now while Cephas doubted in himself, turn around and say, hey man, don't doubt this. Just go do it.
Right. Because you know he got doubt. How you going to be the Spirit and you just told me? Rise, kill, and eat. But see, that's our thing. We don't think that Yahweh is going to test the very fabric of what we made of. See, we don't think that there's going to be some things that's going to test us from inside. We don't think that it could be righteous if it does that. Oh, he's definitely doubting right now. Go ahead.
Then Cephas went down to the men which were sent on to him from Cornelius, and said, Behold, I am he whom you seek. What is the cause wherefore you are come? And they said, Cornelius the centurion, a just man, and one that fears Elohim, and of good report among all the nation of the Yehudis.
Of good report among all the nation of the children of Israel. So he was a just man, and his dealings, the word of his dealings followed him. Go ahead.
Was warned from Elohim by an holy angel to send for you into his house and to hear words of you. Then called he them in and lodged them. And on the morrow Cephas went away with them, and certain brethren from Joppa accompanied him. And the morrow after they entered into Caesarea, and Cornelius waited for them, and had called together his kinsmen and near friends. And as Cephas was coming in, Cornelius met him, and fell down at his feet, and worshipped him. But Cephas took him up, saying, Stand up, I myself also am a man. And as he talked with him, he went in, and found many that were come together. And he said unto them, You know how that it is an unlawful thing for a man that is a Yehudi to keep company, or to come unto one of another nation. But Elohim has showed me that I should not call any man common or unclean.
Right. This is what the whole subject of that was about. But if you listen to that same writing on Sunday morning, this is how all the food got cleansed. And this was not about food. This was about men. Go ahead.
Therefore came I unto you without gainsaying, as soon as I was sent for. I asked therefore, for what intent have you sent for me? And Cornelius said, 4 days ago I was fasting until this hour, and at the 9th hour I prayed in my house, and behold, a man stood before me in bright clothing, and said, Cornelius, your prayers is heard, and your alms are had in remembrance in the sight of Elohim. Send therefore to Joppa, and call hither Simeon, whose surname is Peter. He is lodged in the house of one Simeon, a tanner, by the seaside. who, when he comes, shall speak unto you. Immediately therefore I sent to you, and you have well done that you are come. Now therefore are we all here present before Elohim, to hear all things that are commanded you of Elohim. Then Cephas opened his mouth and said, Of a truth I perceive that Elohim is no respecter of persons, but in every nation he that fears him and works righteousness is accepted with him.
Right. And he took him through all of that so that he could prove that righteousness is open unto all nations. But it was a process in going through those things. And he used one concept to introduce another concept. He used the concept of unclean food to use how they looked at other nations. And that was Yahweh that gave them that separation of not dealing with the nations, because you're going to pick up their things. But if these nations then accept the direction of Yahweh, they are accepted. Let's go to Numbers chapter 16. Numbers chapter 16, and let's start that at verse 23.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the congregation, saying, Get you up from about the tabernacle of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram.
Right. Israel is getting warning. What happened is Israel doesn't pay attention a lot of times to the warnings. We are those people that something has to happen first, and then we will take heed. There is then a warning to separate yourself. And this is Israel amongst Israel. Say, it's easy for us to look at a situation and saying, he said separate from the other nations. No, he said separate from your own people, these people right here, because they're about to get dealt with. Go ahead.
And Moshe rose up and went on to Dathan and Abiram, and the elders of Israel followed him. And he spake unto the congregation, saying, Depart, I pray you, from the tents of these wicked men, and touch nothing of theirs, lest you be consumed in all their sins.
But what if this is my friend? Go ahead.
So they got up from the tabernacle of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram on every side. And Dathan and Abiram came out, and stood in the door of their tents, and their wives, and their sons, and their little children. And Moshe said, Hereby you shall know that Yahweh has sent me to do all these works, for I have not done them of mine own mind. If these men die the common death of all men, or if they be visited after the visitation of all men, then Yahweh has not sent me. But if Yahweh make a new thing, and the earth open her mouth, and swallow them up, with all that appertains unto them, and they go down quick into the pit, then you shall understand that these men have provoked Yah.
Right. A lot of times, because we spend our time in altercations with men, it doesn't occur to us that we have angered Yahweh, because we are going back and forth with a man, not understanding that you have provoked Yahweh. Go ahead.
And it came to pass, as he had made an end of speaking all these words, that the ground clave asunder that was under them, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed them up, and their houses, and all the men that appertained unto Korah, and all their goods.
All that would not separate themselves. Then they end up going down into a pit that wasn't meant for them. Go ahead.
They and all that appertained to them went down alive into the pit, and the earth closed upon them, and they perished from among the congregation. And all Israel that were round about them fled at the cry of them, for they said, Lest the earth swallow us up also.
Now, this one we run when the event happened. Now, we giving warning, but we too tough to heed warning. Once we hear the ground moving, now we take off running. Go ahead.
And there came out a fire from Yahweh, and consumed the 250 men that offered incense. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto Eleazar the son of Aaron the priest, that he take up the censers out of the burning, and scatter you the fire yonder, for they are hallowed. The censers of these sinners against their own souls, let them make them broad plates for a covering of the altar, for they offered them before Yah. Therefore they are hallowed, and they shall be a sign unto the children of Israel. And Eleazar the priest took the brazen censers, wherewith they that were burnt had offered, and they were made broad plates for a covering of the altar, to be a memorial unto the children of Israel, that no stranger which is not of the seed of Aaron come near to offer incense before Yah, that he be not as Korah and as his company, as Yahweh said to him by the hand of Moshe.
Right. When you are given a job of Yahweh, you have to be careful how you do that job. You can't jump and do another job, do this job, do it how you want to do it. These brothers here have a situation that they want to do something how they want to do it. And everybody who decides to gather with those brothers, they're going to get dealt with as well. Go ahead.
But on the morrow, all the congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moshe and against Aaron, saying, you have killed the people of Yah.
You see how Israel is? Now, which one of us have you ever seen shoot fire out the sky? But they blame Moshe and Aaron. Now, here it is. You know the altercation that has happened, but yet when somebody gets dealt with, it's their fault. Go ahead.
And it came to pass, when the congregation was gathered against Moshe and against Aaron, that they looked toward the tabernacle of the congregation. And, behold, the cloud covered it, and the glory of Yahweh appeared. And Moshe and Aaron came before the tabernacle of the congregation. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, get you up from among this congregation, that I may consume them as in a moment. And they fell upon their faces.
Now, Yahweh is now about to cause separation, and had he done this, it would have been the 12 tribes of Moshe. See, this is a situation that you put yourself in when Yahweh says separate. Okay, you got to see if your power going to be strong enough for him not to kill them because you're standing there. That's a pretty big gamble. It's a pretty big gamble. Pretty big gamble. Go ahead.
And Moshe said unto Aaron, take a censer, and put fire therein from off the altar, and put on incense, and go quickly unto the congregation, and make an atonement for them. For there is anger gone out from Yah. The plague is begun. And Aaron took as Moshe commanded, and ran into the midst of the congregation. And, behold, the plague was begun among the people. And he put on incense, and made an atonement for the people.
Wait a minute. He put on incense. Ain't that what caused this whole thing? Go ahead.
And he stood between the dead and the living, and the plague was stayed.
Yeah, if you're going to stand between the dead and the living, see, you can't be, see, this ain't neutral. See, a lot of people think that that's neutral. No, that's the most dangerous spot in all the land. In between the dead and the living, and Yahweh on his way. You're standing in the most dangerous spot. People think that's neutral. No, you're going to die for that. If you stand in between, don't you have to get to you first before you get to them? You're in the most dangerous spot in the building. Go ahead.
Now they that died in the plague were 14,700, beside them that died about the matter of Korah. And Aaron returned unto Moshe unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and the plague was stayed.
All right. Let's go to Ephesians chapter 5. See, that was a separation right there that would not have been good for us had he done it. Because there was points where Yahweh said, just step out the way. I'm going to make a nation out of you. I'm about done with them. I'm done all I can do with these people here. 12 tribes of Moshe sound pretty good. Ephesians chapter 5, and let's start at verse 1.
Be you therefore followers of Elohim as their children, and walk in love, as the Mashiach also have loved us, and has given himself for us an offering and sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as becomes saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather giving of thanks. For this you know, that no whoremonger, nor unclean person, nor covetous man, who is an idolater, has any inheritance in the kingdom of the Mashiach and of Elohim. Let no man deceive you with vain words, for because of these things comes the wrath of Elohim upon the children of disobedience.
Right. And the way the nations fool us is they make us believe that somehow serial monogamy is not whoredom. You just jump in and out of relationships in a line. In that one, out that one, in another one, out of that one, into that one, out of another one. And somehow they don't believe that they're whoremongers. And the nations have given us that lie. So then the whoremonger look at everybody else and look down. And they the biggest whores in the room. Go ahead.
Be not you therefore partakers with them, for you were sometimes darkness, but now are you light, and the Adonai walk as children of the light. For the fruit of the Spirit is in all goodness and righteousness and truth, proving what is acceptable unto the Adonai. And have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them. For it is a shame even to speak of those things which are done of them in secret. But all things that are reproved are made manifest by the light, for whatsoever does make manifest is light. Wherefore he says, Awake you that sleepest, and arise from the dead, and Yahshua shall give you light. See then that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil. Wherefore be you not unwise, but understanding what the will of the Adonai is. And be not drunk with wine, wherein is excess, but be filled with the Spirit, speaking to yourselves in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing and making melody in your heart to the Adonai, giving thanks always for all things unto Elohim and the Father in the name of our Adonai, Yahshua HaMashiach, submitting yourselves one to another in the fear of Elohim. Wives,
right, that's as far as I want to go right there. Let's go to Luke chapter 5. And then what we one of the things that was there was have no fellowship with the unfruitful workers of darkness. But then we're going to go through some things that Yahshua has, or some things that are said concerning Yahshua. Let's go to Luke chapter 5, and we're going to read verses 27 through 32. And let's see if we can find out the difference here.
Verse 27. And after these things he went forth and saw a publican named Levi sitting at the receipt of custom. And he said unto him, Follow me. And he left all, rose up, and followed him.
He left all, rose up, and followed him. Publicans are not accepted people among the children of Israel. But he says to the publican, follow me. And he left all, rose up, and followed him. Go ahead.
And Levi made him a great feast in his own house. And there was a great company of publicans and of others that sat down with them.
Okay.
But their scribes and Pharisees murmured against his disciples, saying, Why do you eat and drink with publicans and sinners? And Yahshua answering said unto them, They that are whole need not a physician, but they that are sick. I came not to call the righteous, but sinners to repentance.
So then, when we see that Yahshua is amongst all of these people who have been marked as unfruitful workers of darkness, his objective is to try to save them. We have to ask ourselves, when we hang out with the unfruitful workers of darkness, what are our intentions? Let's go to Luke chapter 15. Luke chapter 15 and started at verse 1.
The Then drew near unto him all the publicans and sinners for to hear him. And the Pharisees and scribes murmured, saying, This man receives sinners and eats with them. And he spake this parable unto them, saying, What man of you, having 100 sheep, if he lose one of them, does not leave the 99 in the wilderness, and go after that which is lost, until he finds it? And when he has found it, he lays it on his shoulders, rejoicing. And when he comes home, he calls together his friends and neighbors, saying unto them, Rejoice with me, for I have found my sheep which was lost. I say unto you, that likewise joy shall be in heaven over one sinner that repents, more than over 99 just persons which need no repentance.
Right. So then the lost sheep are those that are out alienated from the commonwealth of Israel without actually knowing what it is they're supposed to be doing. When we come into the truth, we have to ask ourselves, how do we then become lost again? We were already lost. So we got lost, got found, and got lost again. Go ahead.
Either what woman having 10 pieces of silver, if she lose one piece, does not light a candle and sweep the house and seek diligently till she find it? And when she has found it, she calls her friends and her neighbors together, saying, Rejoice with me, for I have found the piece which I had lost. Likewise, I say unto you, there is joy in the presence of the angels of Elohim over one sinner that repents. And he said, A certain man had 2 sons, and the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the portion of the goods that falls to me. And he divided unto them his living. And not many days after, the younger son gathered all together, and took his journey into a far country, and there wasted his substance with riotous living.
Right. He got some money, and now it's time to go party and enjoy life. Go ahead.
And when he had spent all, there arose a mighty famine in that land, and he began to be in want.
Now, look at how the situation's presented itself. He got his inheritance. He got the money early. He spent the money having a good time. After he spends the money, now here comes a situation where he need the money. Life funny like that. Go ahead.
And he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country, and he sent him into his fields to feed swine. And he would fain have filled his belly with the husk that the swine did eat, and no man gave unto him.
He would have ate the stuff. What swine eat are the parts that's left off from the meal. Like if somebody eat the apple, the core they throw over there, the pig eat that. You eat the watermelon, they eat the rind. That's a big fall right there. Go ahead.
And when he came to himself, he said, How many hired servants of my father's have bread enough and to spare, and I perish with hunger?
Wait a minute. So this part is broken down into the repentance section. What brings him to repentance? He came to himself. It says when he came to himself, he said, how many hired servants of my father's have bread enough and to spare, and I perish with hunger? He ain't just now known that. What is causing him to come to himself? See, that there's a certain amount of pride and haughtiness that's there, even though he's sitting here wanting to eat the stuff that the pigs eat. Go ahead.
I'll arise and go to my father, and will say unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you.
Right. See, now he is ready. Repentance offers the situation of acknowledgement. Now he's ready to acknowledge what it is he's done. But you see how it ends up happening. Sometimes we got to lose everything before we go back to our Father and say, all right, I've been tripping. Now, you know, the faster we do that, the more of that stuff we might be able to keep. Mm-hmm. But not Jake. We too damn tough. We wait till we ain't got nothing, but we ain't got both socks. We got one sock. We show up with one sock on. All right, Yahweh, you got me. Go ahead, bro.
and no more worthy to be called your son. Make me as one of your hired servants. And he arose and came to his father. But when he was yet a great way off, his father saw him and had compassion and ran and fell on his neck and kissed him.
Right. The father knows that for him to get to this point, a lot of things have happened because he didn't want to show his face, back at the father's house because he was too ashamed. He know that everybody know he left with a bag of money. Now he coming back with one sock. He's ashamed. The father know that him showing up was a great situation at this point. Go ahead.
And the son said unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and in your sight, and am no more worthy to be called your son.
Now, he could have tried to skip this part because the father hugged him and kissed him. See, this is where we play the game. So they're going to accept me back. Okay, well, never mind then. We ain't going to even talk about it. No harm, no foul. Now, it's been plenty harm and plenty foul. Go ahead.
But the father said to his servants, Bring forth the best robe and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand and shoes on his feet. And bring hither the fatted calf and kill it. And let us eat and be merry. For this my son was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. And they began to be merry.
Right. This is a real live lost sheep. Go ahead.
Now his eldest son was in the field. And as he came and drew near to the house, he heard music and dancing. And he called one of the servants and asked what these things meant. And he said unto him, Your brother is come, and your father has killed the fatted calf, because he has received him safe and sound. And he was angry, and would not go in. Therefore came his father out, and entreated him. And he answering said to his father, Lo, these many years do I serve you, neither transgressed I at any time your commandment. And yet you never gave me a kid, that I might make merry with my friends.
Right. It sounds like all these things I've done from my youth up, what lacketh I yet? Go ahead.
But as soon as this your son is come, which has devoured your living with harlots, you have killed for him the fatted calf. And he said unto him, Son, you are ever with me, and all that I have is yours. It was meet that we should make merry and be glad, for this your brother was dead, and is alive again, and was lost, and is found.
All right, let's go to Hebrews chapter 6. Hebrews chapter 6, and let's read verses 1 through 12.
Therefore, leaving the principles of the doctrine of the Mashiach, let us go on to perfection, not laying again the foundation of repentance from dead works and of faith toward Elohim, of the doctrine of baptisms and of laying on of hands and of resurrection of the dead and of eternal judgment. And this will we do, if Elohim permit. For it is impossible for those who were once enlightened and have tasted of the heavenly gift and were made partakers of the Holy Spirit and have tasted the good word of Elohim and the powers of the world to come, if they shall fall away, to renew them again unto repentance, seeing they crucify to themselves the Son of Elohim afresh and put him to an open shame.
So we have to understand how powerful this is when we are understand the word, walk in the word, and then fall away. We have to understand just how powerful that is. Go ahead.
For the earth which drinks in the rain that comes often upon it, and brings forth herbs meet for them by whom it is dressed, receives blessings from Elohim. But that which bears thorns and briars is rejected, and is near unto cursing, whose end is to be burnt. But, beloved, we're persuaded better things of you, and things that accompany salvation, though we thus speak. For Elohim is not unrighteous to forget your work and labor of love, which you have showed towards his name, in that you have ministered to the saints and do minister. And we desire that every one of you do show the same diligence to the full assurance of hope unto the end, that you be not slothful, but followers of them who through faith and patience inherit the promises.
All right, you finished that right there?
Yes.
Let's go to Genesis chapter 11.
Genesis chapter 11 and verse 27.
Yeah.
Now these are the generations of Terah. Terah begot Abram, Nahor, and Haran begot Lot. And Haran died before his father Terah in the land of his nativity, in Ur of the Chaldees. And Abram and Nahor took them wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife Milcah, the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah, and the father of Iscah. But Sarai was barren, she had no child. And Terah took Abram his son, and Lot, the son of Haran, his son's son, and Sarai his daughter-in-law, his son Abram's wife. And they went forth with them from Ur of the Chaldees to go into the land of Canaan, and they came unto Haran and dwelt there. And the days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran.
Now, the first thing you got to understand in this journey is the manner in which this travel is associated as long as Abram's father is alive. It says, and Terah took Abram. So who in control of the trip? Terah. And you see what Yahweh then does, and the days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran. See, Yahweh is dealing with Abram. But what's happening at this point is the father is the one that's in control. That's not who Yahweh is dealing with. Go ahead.
Now Yahweh had said unto Abram, get you out of your country, and from your kindred, and from your father's house, unto a land that I will show you.
Right. But he couldn't leave. He wasn't leaving his father's house if you bring the father with you. How you going to get out of the house and you brought the house with you? So wherever he went, Terah was still going to be in charge. Go ahead.
And I'll make of you a great nation, and I'll bless you and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. And I'll bless them that bless you, and curse him that curse you, and in you shall all families of the earth be blessed.
Mm-hmm.
So Abram departed, as Yahweh had spoken unto him, and Lot went with him. And Abram was 75 years old when he departed out of Haran.
So the first thing is Terah was in charge of the first trip. He's supposed to get out of his father's house, yet he's traveling with his father. Now, Yahweh is able to deal directly with him, but now he's still bringing what? I think this is his nephew.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
And Abram took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their substance that they had gathered, and the souls that they had gotten in Haran. And they went forth to go into the land of Canaan, and into the land of Canaan they came. And Abram passed through the land unto the place of Sychem, unto the plain of Moreh, and the Canaanite was then in the land.
Mm-hmm.
And Yahweh appeared unto Abram, and said, unto your seed will I give this land. And there built he an altar unto Yahweh, who appeared unto him.
Right. So now we have an appearance happening after there's a separation between him and his father. There's direction given after this separation. Go ahead.
And he removed from thence unto a mountain on the east of Bethel, and pitched his tent, having Bethel on the west and Hai on the east. And there he built an altar unto Yahweh, and called upon the name of Yahweh. And Abram journeyed, going on still toward the south.
All right, jump to chapter 13.
And Abram went up out of Egypt, he and his wife, and all that he had, and Lot with him, into the south. And Abram was very rich in cattle, in silver, and in gold. And he went on his journeys from the south even to Bethel, onto the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Ai, onto the place of the altar which he had made there at the first. And there Abram called on the name of Yah. And Lot also, which went with Abram, had flocks and herds and tents. And the land was not able to bear them, that they might dwell together, for their substance was great, so that they could not dwell together.
Check that out. Yahweh is causing a separation between Abram and Lot because they just too rich. Now that I've seen a lot of separations. I ain't seen separations like, man, we got too much money. This is an awesome problem to have. It just ain't enough space for both of them. Go ahead.
And there was a strife between the herdmen of Abram's cattle and the herdmen of Lot's cattle. And the Canaanite and the Perizzite dwelled in the land. And Abram said unto Lot, Let there be no strife, I pray you, between me and you, and between your herdmen, and between my herdmen and your herdmen, for we be brethren. Is not the whole land before you? Separate yourself, I pray you, from me. If you will take the left hand, then I will go to the right. Or if you depart to the right hand, then I'll go to the left.
And the whole journey is Abram's journey. The whole direction of Yahweh is to Abram. Yet he gives the power of the decision making to his nephew. Go ahead.
And Lot lifted up his eyes and beheld all the plain of Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere, before Yahweh destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, even as the garden of Yahweh, like the land of Egypt, as you cometh on to Zoar. Then Lot chose him all the plain of Jordan, and Lot journeyed east, and they separated themselves the one from the other.
Right, he picked the best looking land. So even without Abram making the decision, Yahweh still made the decision that wasn't made by him still go in his favor. Go ahead.
Abram dwelt in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelt in the cities of the plain, and pitched his tent toward Sodom.
Keep going.
But the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners before Yahweh exceedingly. And Yahweh said unto Abram, after that Lot was separated from him, lift up now your eyes and look from the place where you are northward.
So once again, after the separation, he's separating from family. This is his nephew. This is his brother's son. Soon as there's a separation, now Yahweh talking. Now he's going on a whole nother level of a covenant. Go ahead.
And southward, and eastward, and westward. For all the land which you see, to you will I give it, and to your seed forever. And I'll make your seed as the dust of the earth, so that if a man can count the number of the dust of the earth, then shall your seed also be numbered. Arise, walk through the land in the length of it, and in the breadth of it, for I will give it unto you. Then Abram removed his tent, and came and dwelt in the plain of Mamre, which is in Hebron, and built there an altar unto Yah.
All right. Now, there are certain separations that Yahweh makes himself, and then there's other separations that he will push for man to do on his own. And some of those are quite difficult. Let's go to Ezra chapter 9. Ezra chapter 9. And let's read verses 1 through 15.
Now when these things were done, the princes came to me, saying, the people of Israel and the priests and the Levites have not separated themselves from the people of the lands, doing according to their abominations, even of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Jebusites, the Ammonites, the Moabites, the Egyptians, and the Amorites.
All of the people that Yahweh was displacing and removing from his land, Israel then goes in and makes covenants with all the people. And Yahweh says point blank, it is because of their wickedness that you're even getting the land. Then we turn around, go in and make covenants or marriages with the very people whose deeds Yahweh was displeased with. Go ahead.
For they have taken of their daughters for themselves, and of their sons, so that the holy seed have mingled themselves with the people of those lands.
The holy seed is now mingled. Now, this is where some things get interesting, because what we know about the seed follows the male. So whatever the man is, this is what the children are going to be. Well, you find out that it's a little bit deeper than that if you keep going into this book, because Ishmael and Esau were both Abraham's seed, but Yahweh made a separation, didn't he? Go ahead.
Yea, the hand of the princes and rulers have been chief in this trespass. And when I heard this thing, I rent my garment and my mantle, and plucked off the hair off my head and off my beard, and sat down astonished. Then were assembled unto me every one that trembled at the words of the Elohim of Israel, because of the transgression of those that had been carried away. And I sat astonished until the evening sacrifice. And at the evening sacrifice I arose up from my heaviness, and having rent my garment and my mantle, I fell upon my knees, and spread out my hands unto Yahweh my El, and said, O my Elohim, I am ashamed and blush to lift up my face to you, my El, for our lawlessness are increased over our head, and our trespass is grown up unto the heavens. Since the days of our fathers have we been in a great trespass unto this day, and for our lawlessness have we, our kings and our priests, have been delivered into the hand of the kings of the lands, to the sword, to captivity, and to a spoil, and to confusion of face, as it is this day. And now, for a little space, grace has been showed from Yahweh our El, to leave us a remnant to escape, and to give us a nail in this holy place, that our Elohim may lighten our eyes, and give us a little reviving in our bondage. For we were bondmen, yet our Elohim has not forsaken us in our bondage, but has extended mercy unto us in the sight of the kings of Persia, to give us a reviving, to set up the house of our Elohim, and to repair the desolations thereof, and to give us a wall in Yehuda and in Jerusalem. And now, O our Elohim, what shall we say after this? For we have forsaken your commandments, which you have commanded by your servants the prophets, saying, the land unto which you go to possess it, it is an unclean land with the filthiness of the people of the lands, with their abominations, which have filled it from one end to another with their uncleanness. Now therefore, give not your daughters unto their sons, neither take their daughters unto your sons, nor seek their peace or their wealth forever, that you may be strong and eat the good of the land, and leave it for an inheritance to your children forever.
Right, because Yahweh knows Israel. Yahweh knows that Israel has a revolting heart, and all it takes is a little bit, and we get directed off the path. Yahweh makes man, puts man in the garden, then gives man a woman. Yahweh has to sit there and watch as the man then takes the woman's direction over Yahweh's direction. And that was the same woman that was of the man. Now you take somebody of another culture, and we all off, way off from the culture of Yahweh. He knows the revolting heart of Israel. Go ahead.
And after all that has come upon us for our evil deeds and for our great trespass, seeing that you, our El, has punished us less than our lawlessness deserved, and have given us such deliverance as this, should we again break your commandments and join in affinity with the people of these abominations? Would not you be angry with us till you have consumed us, so that there should be no remnant for escaping? O Yahweh Elohim of Israel, you are righteous, for we remain yet escaped, as it is this day. Behold, we are before you in our trespass, for we cannot stand before you because of this.
Keep going.
Now when Ezra had prayed, and when he had confessed, weeping and casting himself down before the house of Elohim, there assembled unto him out of Israel a very great congregation of men and women and children, for the people wept very sore. And Shechaniah the son of Jehiel, one of the sons of Elam, answered and said unto Ezra, we have trespassed against our Elohim, and have taken strange wives of the people of the land. Yet now there is hope in Israel concerning this thing.
So what you're dealing with is the captivity, Israel goes captive in a land, and then, of course, start taking wives of the people of the land where we ended up. And we already had a problem following Yahweh's law amongst our own people in our own land. Then we turn around and enter into covenants with women of other nations, and the women did the same thing. So we couldn't follow his law in his land. How much more difficult you think it's going to be now? Go ahead.
Now therefore let us make a covenant with our Elohim to put away all the wives and such as born of them, according to the counsel of my Adonai, and of those that tremble at the commandment of our Elohim. Let it be done according to the law.
Now hold on. Now this ought to cook your noodle a little bit. Now we talking about the seed belongs to the male. That means there's a whole lot of Israelite blood running around somewhere. Because at this point, these are men who have married these women and have produced children throughout this part of captivity. But now it's time to go back into the land. And do we consider any of those things when it's time to go back home? What's going to take place at that point? How are we going to deal with that? And right now, our head is in color. It goes deeper than color. Keep reading.
Arise, for this matter belongs unto you. We also will be with you. Be of good courage, and do it. Then arose Ezra and made the chief priests, the Levites, and all Israel to swear that they should do according to this word. And they swear. Then Ezra rose up from before the house of Elohim and went into the chamber of Johanan, the son of Eliashib. And when he came thither, he did eat no bread nor drink water, for he mourned because of the transgression of them that had been carried away. And they made proclamation throughout Yehuda and Jerusalem unto all the children of the captivity, that they should gather themselves together unto Jerusalem, and that whosoever would not come within 3 days, according to the counsel of the princes and the elders, all his substance should be forfeited, and himself separated from the congregation of those that had been carried away.
You know, it's interesting, man. You give somebody a simple question of, all right, you know, we need to make a decision about such and such. We'll try to delay that thing 2 months. These people got to decide what's going to happen with their wives and children, and they were given 3 days. Go ahead.
And all the men of Yehuda and Benjamin gathered themselves together unto Jerusalem within 3 days. It was the 9th month, on the 20th day of the month. And all the people sat in the street of the house of Elohim, trembling because of this matter, and for the great rain. And Ezra the priest stood up and said unto them, You have transgressed and have taken strange wives to increase the trespass of Israel.
Increase the trespass. Okay? Because of the revolting heart of Israel, once somebody else brings in some of their culture, we then take the culture and mingle it right in with the culture of Israel. That's why you have to constantly warn Israel. Go ahead.
Now therefore make confession unto Yahweh. Now therefore make confession unto Yahweh, El of your fathers, and do his pleasure, and separate yourselves from the people of the land and from the strange wives. Then all the congregation answered and said with a loud voice, As you have said, so must we do. But the people are many, and it is a time of much rain, and we're not able to stand without, neither is this a work of 1 day or 2. For we are many that have transgressed in this thing.
We are many that have done this thing. Go ahead.
Let now our rulers of all the congregation stand, and let all them which have taken strange wives in our cities come at appointed times, and with them the elders of every city, and the judges thereof, until the fierce wrath of our El for this matter be turned from us. Only Jonathan the son of Asahel, and Yahaziah the son of Tikvah, were employed about this matter, and Maeshlam and Shabbatai the Levite helped them. And the children of the captivity did so, and Ezra the priest, with certain chief of the fathers, after the house of their fathers, and all of them by their names, were separated, and sat down in the first day of the 10th month to examine the matter. And they made an end with all the men that had taken strange wives by the first day of the first month. And among the sons of the priests there were found that had taken strange wives, namely of the sons of Yeshua, the son of Jozadak, and his brethren, Maaseiah, and Eleazar, and Yarib, and Gedaliah. And they gave their hands that they would put away their wives, and being guilty, they offered a ram of the flock of their trespass.
You have to understand how deep this is. Okay? It says Yahweh is the same Elohim that hates putting away. He hates divorce. Here is a situation where they're having to put away the wives that they have gathered during that time. And Yahweh is all about covenants. Go ahead.
And of the sons of Immer, Hanani, and Zebediah. And of the sons of Harim, Maaseiah, and Eliah, and Shemaiah, and Jehael, and Uzziah. And of the sons of Pashur, what was it?
Elionai.
Oh.
That's all I can tell you right there. That one pretty out there. Elionai.
Elionai.
Yo, he said that real good, didn't he? That's because it's like his name. Elionai. Yeah, man, it's real easy. What's the problem, man? Elionai. He said it, and he said it with a little disgust. Did you hear the disgust? Did you hear the disgust? How that brother said that? I can't believe they have a problem with that. Elionai, man. What's the problem, man? What's the problem, man? He said, man, that's what happened when you're on the other side of the island. You see that? He just threw your island at you, brother. You know what I'm saying? I heard it, bro. I heard it. Yeah, man.
Maaseiah, Ishmael, Nathaniel, Jozabad, and Eleazar. Also of the Levites, Jozabad, and Shemaiah, and Kaliah.
Now, I just wanted to read all of them, a few of them, so that you understand just how deep that situation went and how widespread. A lot of times when something is more widespread, we avoid dealing with it because it would be a great situation to deal with. No matter how great this is, they are being made to deal with it. Jump down to verse 44.
All these had taken strange wives, and some of them had wives by whom they had children.
Now, that is a very difficult situation of separation. And most of that lies with the whole thing of Israel can't have a woman that is not in the word correctly and still walk a lot of times. Because we end up receiving all of those things and get coerced into walking wrong. So Yahweh has to do this not because Yahweh is a racist, but because Israel has a revolting heart. And all it takes is, oh, these people want to do this, and now we out. Hey, Shlomo built houses of worship for his strange wives. Did you think he did not know any better? Of course he did. Let's go to Genesis chapter 21, because there's some other things that you have to consider. Because at this point, this is man doing this situation. And a lot of times you'll have some people that will openly speak against that because, you know, this is a priest and you know, Israel don't care nothing about going against a priest. You know, he's all, you know, that priest just wasn't right, you know. So let's see what Yahweh orchestrates. Genesis chapter 21, and let's start at verse 8.
And the child grew and was weaned, and Abraham made a great feast the same day that Esaac was weaned. And Sarah saw the son of Hagar the Egyptian, which she had borne unto Abraham, mocking.
Now understand, in this situation, do understand all of these people are the same color. Hagar, the Egyptian, is a Hamite. Okay? Then you have Sarah, who is of Israel. You then have what? You still have a situation of the same skin tone. Matter of fact, Hagar was darker 9 times out of 10. Ham mean burnt black. So if you think, this is about black and white, nah, Hagar was blacker than her. Go ahead.
Wherefore she said unto Abraham, Cast out this bondwoman and her son, for the son of this bondwoman shall not be heir with my son, even with Esau.
Well, wait a minute. Both seeds are Abraham's seed. Okay? So the seed is both of his. But it matters where you plant your seed. You can't just put the seed in any ground and say, well, it's mine, it don't matter. Well, let's see what Yahweh say. Go ahead.
And the thing was very grievous in Abraham's sight because of his son.
Uh-huh.
And Elohim said unto Abraham, Let it not be grievous in your sight because of the lad, and because of your bondwoman. And all that Sarah has said unto you, hearken unto her voice, for in Esau shall your seed be called.
In other words, Yahweh put the stamp of approval on what Sarah said. Separate them children. But they both his. Go ahead.
Like you said before, it's also the mindset of Hagar that was passed down to Ishmael.
Exactly. See, and those are the things that we don't consider. That mindset is still going to be there, and you're going to have to work hard to pull out that mindset. See, you're going to have to work real hard to pull out that mindset. And this is that thing. We're talking about two individuals of the same skin tone. Yahweh ain't dealing with that. He's dealing with something much greater than that. How are they going to receive my culture? And when you're mocking, it shows you ain't receiving it. Go ahead.
And also of the son of the bondwoman will I make a nation, because he is your seed.
Right. Now, because of your seed, I'm going to do some great things, but they're going to be natural. It ain't going to be spiritual. The spiritual stuff I'm doing with the seed that you brought from this woman. The seed you got from this woman? Nah, man, I'm going to give them some natural stuff. Go ahead.
And Abraham rose up early in the morning and took bread and a bottle of water and gave it unto Hagar, putting it on her shoulder and the child, and sent her away.
Man, this hardcore. This that stuff you see in the commercial where they give you a stick and wrap the bag around the stick. Y'all remember that in the cartoon? They give you a stick in the little bag. I always wonder, where the hell the stick in the bag come from? Apparently they got it from here. Put a little stick on the, little bag on the stick, and there it is. Man, this some hardcore stuff. Go ahead.
You know what's interesting about this? Because remember, this is the second time this is being done where Hagar's ran off. But this time he's having to deal with it.
Right.
Whereas the first time he just, deal with her as you will. And my hand really ain't a part of it. No, this time y'all was like, no, you gonna send her away.
Well, not just that. You have a situation where Yahweh is coming in and giving the stamp of approval on this situation. And then as you keep reading, what happened the last time? She was, ended up having an encounter that gave her the instruction to go back and humble herself. Well, you see, she only humbled herself for a little while then. Because whatever that was inside, she taught it to that boy, and then that boy brought it right out on the other child. And that was enough for her. Two totally different cultures, and we think that it don't matter. But Yahweh says something different. Go ahead.
And she departed and wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba. And the water was spent in the bottle, and she cast the child under one of the shrubs. And she went and sat her down over against him a good way off, as it were a bow shot. For she said, Let me not see the death of the child. And she sat over against him, and lifted up her voice, and wept. And Elohim heard the voice of the lad, and the angel of Yahweh called to Hagar out of heaven, and said unto her, What aileth you, Hagar?
Now, this is the second time she done got a visitation. This is the part of being carrying bringing forth the seed of Abraham, that still, no matter what, the angel of Yahweh still deals with her. Just not on the level he ain't gonna deal with Sarah. Go ahead.
Fear not, for Elohim has heard the voice of the lad, where is he? Arise, lift up the lad, and hold him in your hand, for I'll make him a great nation.
Uh-huh.
And Elohim opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. And she went and filled the bottle with water and gave the lad drink. And Elohim was with the lad, and he grew and dwelt in the wilderness and became an archer. And he dwelt in the wilderness of Paran.
Pay attention right here. Go ahead.
And his mother took him a wife out of the land of Egypt.
Now, what? She took him a wife out of the land of Egypt. Let's back up. What was she?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then she gave him a wife from where?
Egypt.
Okay. All right. Just make sure we didn't miss that part right there, that she pushed it right along the line of where she was. Mm-hmm. See that, and that's the part that people don't see. When you go and you deal with strange situations, when it come time, they're gonna push that child right in their situation. Right. Let's go to Matthew chapter 10. See, this is why we have a culture. This is why we're supposed to walk in our culture. But what we do is we do some things and then try to back into the culture. Matthew chapter 10, and let's start that at verse 32.
Whosoever therefore shall confess me before men, him will I confess also before my Father which is in heaven. But whosoever shall deny me before men, him will I also deny before my Father which is in heaven.
Now understand, there are a lot of people that made a whole lot of decisions in life things before they ever came to the word. Okay? And we have to take those into consideration. But then there are also things that we have made decisions on understanding the word. That's a whole nother thing. Go ahead.
Think not that I'm come to send peace on the earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword. For I'm come to set a man at variance against his father, and the daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law.
Right. And we keep trying to look for peace, and what Yahweh is bringing is separation. Why? Separation for sanctification. We keep trying to keep something together that ain't supposed to be together. Go ahead.
And a man's foes shall be they of his own household.
A man's foes shall be they of his own household. But what if you just want to agree with everybody in the house? Go ahead.
He that loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. And he that loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me.
Right. And we're not going to say we love son or daughter more than Yahweh. What we're going to do is we're going to make some decisions that's going to push Yahweh's law and his culture into a corner so we can side with our children, so we can side with other members of our house. That's how we say that we love them more than we love Yahweh, our Elohim. It's not going to come out our mouth that way. Our actions are going to show that. Just like when Eli knew what his sons did, he did not discipline them. So his actions showed that he loved his boys more than he loved Yahweh. Go ahead.
And he that takes not his burdens and follows after me is not worthy of me. He that finds his life shall lose it, and he that loses his life for my sake shall find it. He that receives you receives me, and he that receives me receives him that sent me. He that receives a prophet in the name of a prophet shall receive a prophet's reward. And he that receives a righteous man in the name of a righteous man shall receive a righteous man's reward. And whosoever shall give to drink unto one of these little ones a cup of cold water only in the name of a disciple, verily I say unto you, he shall in no wise lose his reward.
All right, let us hear the conclusion of this matter. Let's go to Matthew chapter 25. Matthew chapter 25, and let's read verses 31 through 46.
Verse 31. When the Son of Man shall come in his glory, and all the holy angels with him, then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory. And before him shall be gathered all nations, and he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd divides his sheep from the goats.
And before him shall be gathered all nations, and he shall separate them one from another. Yahweh is the very one that separated the nations in the beginning. And then what we do is try to move everything together. And Yahweh is going back to the very thing that he set forth before. It's time for that separation to be caused so that judgment can be righteously executed. Go ahead.
And he shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left. Then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, Come, you blessed of my father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world.
Right. So this separation then is going to be different, not just among nation, but among righteous versus wicked. Go ahead.
For I was an hungered, and you gave me meat. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. Naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came unto me. Then shall the righteous answer him, saying, Adonai, when saw we you an hungered, and fed you, or thirsty, and gave you drink? When saw we you a stranger, and took you in, or naked, and clothed you? Or when saw we you sick, or in prison, and came unto you? And the king shall answer and say unto them, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as you have done it unto one of the least of these my brethren, you have done it unto me.
Pause. Consider what you have done unto other individuals. Have you ever considered that you look and think that you are committing that to Yahshua himself? Think about whatever sayings we say. Think about whatever little things that we put together and orchestrate. Consider that Yahshua is going to hold that as you doing that against him. Are you ready for that? Go ahead, bro.
Verse 41. Then shall he say also unto them on the left hand, Depart from me, you cursed, into everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was an hungered, and you gave me no meat. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and you took me not in. Naked, and you clothed me not. Sick and in prison, and you visited me not. Then shall they also answer him, saying, Adonai, when saw we you an hungered, or athirst, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not minister unto you?
Right. Here's the whole situation. Nobody believes that that they are doing this unto Yahshua. They don't understand this until the end. This is how Yahweh judges the hearts of men. So everybody believes that they're doing something to one individual or another, only to find out later how he's counting that. It's too late to change it then. You done already did it. You done already said it. You done already committed it. You done already put together your little plan and did whatever. Now it's time to see who you actually did that against. Go ahead.
Then shall he answer them, saying, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as you did it not to one of the least of these, you did it not to me. And these shall go away into everlasting punishment, but the righteous into life eternal.
All right. That is all that we're going to do today. We're going to do trivia, go over our trivia answers at 5:30. All right. So 5:30, and we will do that on Zoom. So that's all that we're going to do for today. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.